sometimes we wonder, well, if my student is doing really well, is it just optional? Can they zip past something?
Welcome to Classical Etc. You're in the studio with Memoria Press.
In high school, I had hair down to here.
You did not.
I did.
That's
I
what
might
he
be able
did.
to find a picture.
Oh, please show us.
I saw a picture about
Were you
20
in a
years
band,
ago.
Martin?
No, I was not in the band, but I was.
It was just
it
the
was Southern
fashion.
California. I was at the beach all the time, so
Yeah, it was the
kind of
fashion.
Did you surf?
sun-bleached, and
Were you a surfer?
no, I was not a surfer.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Classical Etc. I'm Jessica Aboud, and I am here with Martin, Tanya, and our guest today, Dr. Marcy Davis. Marcy, you have been on Classical Etc. before with Shane.
It was a long time ago, and I don't think we were even recorded, for filming purposes. It was just, audio. So It's been a while.
It's been a while. Well, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, Marcy has an extensive career in education. You began over 25 years ago as a classroom teacher, math,
At the college level.
At the college level. And then you went on to found a classical school.
I did with the
Providence.
help of Paul Schaefer, who's not here right now.
Right.
But I called on him a bunch
Yes.
to get that started. But yes.
Yes, and the Memoria Press team too. I hear Tanya helped with that.
We were very small then, and it was literally just Paul and I doing the schools. And so Paul got fortunate enough to get Marcy, but there were only about probably 8 or 9 of us in the office at the time. And every time the phone would ring and somebody would say, "Paul, I have a phone call for you," everybody in the office would say, "It's probably Marcy Davis."
And it probably was.
She called a lot.
I did.
She called a lot.
Yeah, so they're
But-
very close. And now they work. Now they actually work together.
I know, because Marcy founded this school, and now you work at Memoria Press. You are the head of school at Memoria Academy.
I am.
And yes, you do so much for parents, students, teachers. That is a big job, and you do it
It is,
fantastically.
but I have a great team, including you.
Yeah,
That's
well,
right.
Miss Jessica Aboud, our
Yes.
administrative assistant, who's
Yes, and
fantastic.
Chris. Yeah.
And Chris Jones, who's our faculty and tech support. And we've just got amazing teachers, over 60 teachers who do a great job and really are dedicated to classical education and to what they do.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad to have you,
Well,
Marcy.
thanks. It's good to be here.
We always start off our episodes talking about what we're reading. So I'll let you think on it if you need to recall what's on your nightstand.
Okay.
But these two know the drill. So what are you guys reading?
I'm about 70 pages away from finishing The Ghost Keeper by Natalie Morell. I cannot remember her name.
And that was
and one of our viewers, Tracy, recommended this book to me. And it is a book about the Holocaust, but it's really from a different angle. And the fascinating part of it to me is that so it is about a Jewish family, but it's also about the friend of the narrator who is Jewish. His friend is Austrian. And when the Germans come in, it's really a lot about his conflict. And I thought, when you read, and I've read a lot of World War II novels, and you feel compassion for and just horror at what happened. But the fact that I'm not Jewish meant I really wasn't able to feel like this would have threatened my life. But seeing in this character, his conflict and his having to become a part of the party and his struggle with that, even after the war, his continued struggle, that, the role that he was placed in, where he was helping Jewish families and he was hiding people, but he was still conflicted because in order to be able to do that, his father's factory that he was running became a munitions plant for the Germans, and he was wearing an armband to be, a member of the party, because if you didn't do that, then you were considered a traitor to the Germans. I mean, it's just his conflict is really what I think we could relate to as Gentiles. Just that he is complicit. And he feels that role of being complicit, and we're all complicit. unless we just stand up and say, some people do just stand up and say, this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then they, are treated I don't know. Yeah. It's really given me a lot to think about being from that perspective. Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of us think it's like, well, if I was in that situation,
I would do this.
I would, until you read something that articulates what it was really like,
right?
You don't realize how hard that would be.
Yes, and somebody even said, why didn't he? Somebody said to this main character, who is Jewish, why didn't he just not join the party and just not give up the factory? Mm-hmm. And this main character, who is his friend, said they would have put somebody else there. They would have just removed him and put somebody else. It was going to happen anyway. Mm. But still, should he, in his mind, he can't live with the fact that he feels complicit because of his small role. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it was a good suggestion.
Yes, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
At first, the narrative style was, it felt flowery to me and like somebody who's just been at a creative writing place. But then it's like she relaxes into it and it just gets better and better and less, as you get into the story, less of that, what felt at the very beginning to be, I can't think of the word, where, not
kind of overdone.
Yes, overdone, but there's a word for that. And I just can't come up with it, but I'll keep thinking about it.
Okay.
When something is forced, maybe. Forced is maybe, like I'm trying to force this prose to be beautiful.
Yeah. Embellished.
Yes, yes.
Martin?
Well, we are trying to, we're taking nominations for the Parnassus Prize for Literature from the college, Memoria College. And so the process is, you're trying to find the books that you really want to consider that have come out in recent years that are in some way related to the vision of the college and the Great Books program. And so one of the books I got in was called Christian Paideia. It's the first volume of a series, apparently, A History of Christian Education to 500 AD by Brian Welter. And I'm just 50 pages into it, but I'm very much enjoying it. I like things that involve like more than one thing that I'm interested in. So in this case, it's education and history, because it's the history of Christian education, which I've read a bit about over the years, but it seems like I probably read 7 or 8 books on that subject, and they all approach it in a completely different way. It seems like a different history almost, really. But they're all talking about the same thing. And this one is very complete and has some things in there that I had not heard, and so I'm really enjoying it.
Well, I've got several. I just finished Frankenstein. My son was having to read that for school, and I thought it was about time. I had never read it before.
Did you feel sorry for the monster? No.
Not quite the way you did.
I just, I struggle with Lassie too. So there you go.
It was just
too sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm too sensitive.
It was a sad
A lot of people
story.
struggle about a lot of different things, but Lassie, usually not one of them.
But I finished that one. I'm working on Anne of Green Gables because our Memoria Academy faculty book club is going to be going through that in about a month. And then we also just had Joseph Pierce as our guest lecturer for the Memoria Academy Community Lecture Series. Martin was our very first speaker back in the spring, and Joseph was just a few weeks ago. And he spoke on the good, the true, and the beautiful in classical education. But he wrote a book called The Good, the Bad, and the Beautiful, which is this amazing look back at church history. Just century by century. So I'm in the 17th century right now, and learning the good, the bad, and the beautiful from that century. I love he brings in art, beautiful manuscripts and paintings and architecture as the beautiful, and then of course talks through the history, the good and the bad of each period. So it's a very interesting book.
I've seen that book. When we have our book table, I've never bought that book.
I don't think so.
It's fairly new. It's a couple years old.
Well, I should add that to our
But
list.
it's very interesting.
Okay.
Sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
He knows an amazing amount of things. I don't know how he is able to read enough to talk about all the things he talks about. He must be a very disciplined.
He is, but it's very accessible writing.
Yes, right.
If I email him at 5:00 in the morning, he emails me right back.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing.
he does start early.
Yeah.
But if he's like me, by 7, I'm brain dead and finished.
Yeah.
Literally, the Energizer Bunny has run totally out.
I'm just getting started around that time.
I know. You and I are literally in opposite places. I remember getting emails from you where you had written them at 2:00 in the morning with Latin homework for my children.
Possibly.
Yes. Oh, no, possibly. It happened.
Yeah. Well, sometimes your children's Latin homework was harder to grade.
Yeah, I do believe that.
The long history of Martin and Tanya.
Yes.
That's funny. Well, today we have got 2 listener questions. The first one is perfect for our guest today, Marcy, because it is about Memoria Academy. And the second one we're actually going to use for the rest of the episode about placement for grade level students. So let's tackle the Memoria Academy question first. It comes from Callie. She says, hello, Core 4. And she makes a joke about being 5, the 5th person, because she watches the episode. So, Callie, we love that you watch and listen. You are welcome to be the 5th person on our podcast anytime. She says, I'd love to hear more about Memoria Academy and what all that entails. Can you explain the way Memoria Academy functions? Is it video lessons, live online lessons? Are students able to safely connect with students in their classes online? Are parents in charge of grading? Or does the teacher do this? She asks a lot of really good questions. So thank you, Callie. I want to toss this to Marcy. You know the ins and outs.
Well, we're also blessed to be sitting here with the founder of Memoria Academy,
That's
Martin
right.
Cothran. So
right.
we have been around for 20 years.
Yeah, and when we started 20 years ago, we did it by text chat.
Text chat.
This was the
No
technology we were using.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, very
I will
long.
say that.
That's right.
But I think Martin's vision was just to kind of emulate what Cheryl was doing here at Highlands and to allow this beautiful Memoria Press curriculum to be accessible to students around the world, actually. And so we've got over 2,300 students now in all 50 states and around the globe who are participating with us. But we do have live classes that are taught by master teachers. We do implement, the Memoria Press curriculum, and it's just a fantastic way for students to have an in-class experience. The teacher is on video. They're able to chat and interact. Our classrooms allow a variety of ways for students to participate, and it's just a great experience and a great resource for families who might find they need some extra help in a class or two, or perhaps all of their classes. We'd love to have them.
Are there opportunities for the students to chat among themselves like they would in a classroom, and a brick and mortar classroom?
Most of the time, students have about 10 minutes before class. The teachers will log in and open up the classroom and still be present,
Right.
so that there's some
it doesn't go
oversight.
off the
Exactly.
rails. Right.
But they have that time and are also able to kind of chat, as the teacher allows during class. From time to time, they can turn on video screens, but we do like to keep the distractions to a minimum. So most of the time, it is just the teacher on screen. But new this year, we've added some extracurricular activities for our students. So we have a classical forum. So we actually have a teacher living in Italy who is leading the classics forum, and the students are all on camera. This is for high school students right now, and they're able to interact and kind of talk through, a great philosopher with a master teacher, and just kind of a more relaxed setting that's not for a grade. We have a literature forum, and we also kicked off our journalism club. Where we're going to be publishing our first student newspaper later this semester. So those are some opportunities that outside of the classroom that students can interact.
And those are moderated by your teachers?
They are.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, wonderful. And we really consider it a partnership with parents. The teachers do the teaching, the grading, the feedback, but the parental partnership is critical.
Right. And I think that's what parents appreciate the most is that, our teachers do handle all of the instruction, all of the grading. And we just need parents to come alongside and make sure the assignments, which are very clearly laid out between class meetings, what students need to be doing. The parents just have to come alongside students and make sure those things are happening. But very much a partnership. But our teachers do the vast majority of the work there.
Yeah. And if you're sick and miss a class, it's recorded.
We have recordings that you can go back and watch, even if you just need to review. It's there week by week.
Okay. And I think one of the great ways to try it out, just to see if the format works for you and your student, we've got winter classes for sale right now. They're very affordable. We've got one for every grade, starting from 3rd all the way to 12th grade. You can find those at memoriaacademy.com. And I always encourage people to do that because it's a 5-week enrichment class over a wonderful book with one of our teachers.
For $15.
Great way to try it out. I know.
For $15.
You can't beat that.
That is unbelievable.
And it's always going to be one of the books in the Memoria Press curriculum. So it might be one your student already has scheduled to do this year or next year. So it's a great on-ramp to try it out, I think.
But that one, those, because they're only 5 weeks and because they're just $15, they're going to have more students in them, right? It's going to be less. So your normal classes that last a semester or a year, you limit how
to
many?
16. We had
16.
16 student
limit. So the
limit.
teacher is only dealing with 16 students at the most.
Exactly. So these winter classes are definitely larger. I believe they're 6 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks before Christmas and then 3 after. They can go pretty large and aren't quite exactly what you would experience.
They're not as personal.
Exactly.
Because the teacher can't get to all of the...
But if you find that you like the winter class, we have the same teacher teaching a spring literature class that will be limited to 16 students and would give you that exact feel of what a regular class with us would be like. So that's an additional option that you can consider.
Yes, that's good. I was going to point out one more thing. If you join a class and your student's one of 16, the teacher controls the mics, right? So the students can't just talk.
And the chat. I mean, the teacher even controls the chat.
The teacher can turn them all on and everybody recites Latin together.
And we encourage that. We encourage microphone use. That's required for classes. A camera is not, so that's kind of up to parents how they feel about that. And then, of course, the teacher decides when to utilize that. But a microphone is required.
So the student doesn't have to have a camera.
Exactly.
I didn't know that. See, I've learned things too.
There you go. Nice. Well, on to the topic of the day. We're going to talk about a question we get all the time, probably almost daily with the CSRs at Memoria Press. And I know all of us hear about it.
And even at the brick and mortar school.
That's right. That's right. And it is what to do if you think that your child is academically advanced for their grade. And I want to use one of our listener questions to kind of frame up just as an example. This question is from Mare from Los Angeles. She has her student in a classical school. And she says, I'm writing seeking guidance on how to accommodate my son if he needs more. He's an older 3rd grader and he's excelled in academic testing. And she's just asking, if he's doing so well, should I ask the school to move him up? Should I supplement with homeschool projects? She just doesn't know what to do. We get that question all the time.
So he's in a hybrid school. He's in a hybrid school.
So she has the room to add things at home. She's unsure what to do to challenge him or to leave him where he is. And we want to share how to navigate that because we get that question a lot. What we've seen be successful and maybe some guiding principles. It's just such a common question because people want their kids to do well. They want the best for them. They want to set them up for success. And sometimes it's just hard to know what to do. I think the first question I want to ask, and this goes to all of you, is when it comes to the content in a grade level, is it all necessary? I think sometimes we wonder, well, if my student is doing really well, is it just optional? Can they zip past something? Is everything in any given grade completely purposeful? I know we spend so much time curating that, but is there value to just stick with it?
In the lower grades, yes, it's definitely purposeful. And you have more freedom, more flexibility in older grades, especially in a hybrid system. But I'm not a big fan of just moving students along. I feel like sometimes it leaves gaps. And I can tell you what Tara Luce, our principal, says when parents say, and this is, students in our full-time school that are just excelling. And they think, well, my third grader may be a little bored. And she says there is always something that they need to work on. So maybe they can write a paragraph beautifully, but what's it look like? Generally, penmanship may be something they need to work on, or math fact. Not everybody doesn't excel in everything. There is something an 8-year-old still needs to work on. But you can add, especially in a 1 or 2 day a week school, you can add interesting things. You can add other subjects even. So, but I'm not a fan in the younger years of skipping ahead. I do think it's all important and it is all purposeful, especially because what we are preparing, with our curriculum, we are preparing them to do some really difficult things in the upper school. And so we just need to make sure these are the years to prepare for that.
Foundational.
What do you think?
Yes, I would say as an administrator, that allowing teachers and administrators to be the ones to say, hey, maybe we need to move your child along. There are, a lot of parents, and we should think very highly of our children, and we are their advocates, and we want to give them the best. But I think a good rule of thumb would be, if teachers and administrators reach out to you and suggest, maybe, moving along a little faster in some area would be beneficial, then maybe it would be time to consider that.
And for the homeschool world, you can do that. You can easily move along in the Memoria Academy. You can't do that here in the full-time school, but you can do it in our cottage school, our 1 day a week. You could, and this is I'm giving this advice from our forum. When people ask this question on the forum, the homeschool moms always, especially for young students, pop in and say, don't skip anything.
Interesting.
But accelerate it. So if your math book has 4 lessons on long multiplication and your student has mastered that, sure, skip ahead. Do 1 or 2 lessons and then you can move forward, but don't skip anything or you're going to miss concepts. You may possibly miss concepts. So it's better to work faster, but you can't do that in a school. You have to, everybody has to stay together. But there are ways to challenge. The smartest student I ever had did just about everything perfectly. And so I did have to be creative and think when everybody had written, so this was like 6th grade, everybody had written a paper for me about something in literature. I don't remember what I do. Actually, I think it was 5th grade, and I think it was, would you rather be a minstrel or an Oxford student like Perkin? I think I was doing the, who wants to have a free life on the road and who is more comfortable in a classroom setting. And her paper was perfect the very first time. Nobody else's was. Everybody else, I wrote red all over and they were redoing them. And she didn't have anything to do because there was no red on her paper. It was very well written. So I'm in a panic thinking, what am I going to do with this child for the next half hour? And so I said, cut it in half, which she did in half an hour. And it was, again, beautiful. But it was something that, it gave her something valuable to do with her time because I wanted her to keep moving. And, you can do that when you have small numbers.
And I think you can definitely talk to a teacher about that kind of thing. Just please keep challenging my child and let me know if there are ways outside of the classroom that I can do that.
Right.
But like you said, skipping any of the content, especially if you're using Memoria Press curriculum, it's so beautiful, so appropriate both in rigor and content at each age level. You really don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts over there?
You're writing stuff down, Martin.
I'm just listening. Okay. So
I like it when you're quiet.
I know that you do, and I'm not quiet because you like it, just so you know.
You're not quiet, period.
No, I think that we're thinking in a very linear way when we're talking like this, when we're saying, well, my child is advanced and my child does really well on test scores. And because any test is only measuring some very narrow thing, right? So maybe they're really good at, so usually when we say, well, they're advanced in something, maybe some couple of things in the curriculum. But there's so much to do at every age level that in most cases is not done. Mm-hmm. So, if it's my child, I'm thinking I'm not moving them ahead. I'm moving them this way. I'm moving them. I'm trying to broaden them. It's not just deep. It's broad. Have they read all the books that would be appropriate for that age level? I doubt it. In terms of literature and history and those sorts of things. There is so much material out there, so much knowledge to be had. There's never enough time to get it all, and I mean that at each age level as well. You go out there. There's so much stuff that I would love to have read, when I was growing up that I didn't because my parents were limited in what they knew and what they knew that was available. But we know now we are living in a time when we can get our hands on anything. So maybe they're really good at math. Maybe they're really good at in grammar or whatever the subject is. But are they good at everything? I seriously doubt that. And have they read all the books that you could read at that age profitably? I doubt it. So this moving ahead thing is not something that I think is. I just don't think that's a good way to think about things.
And I think that's a helpful way to ask a different question. Instead of asking, how far can they go? It's how can they grow at this stage?
Absolutely.
As deep as I can grow them, how can they grow? Because I can't ever exhaust that.
Right.
I think that's helpful.
Right. And it's not just within the education, the world of education. It's what about all the other things that you need to do in life? Right. We never had enough time to do all the things that we needed to do, even including outside of school. Maybe your child's good at 3 different sports, but you don't have time to do 3 different sports. There's other things besides school that you also have to be concerned about that they could be working on. That would be good for them, that would be good for their souls.
And if they're not struggling with academics, that frees them up to have more time to pursue these other interests and to grow as a person.
Right.
And we do spend those really early years working on basic skills. And some students do very well, very quickly with learning their math facts. And so then you're just like, how fast do we really need to be?
Right.
Once we've mastered that. And so it can be frustrating early on, but I would just say, hold on because it's going to get harder. Latin is going to get harder. Math, I've yet to see a student who can do long division without making a mistake. It's just, that working on accuracy, even once you've got the concepts down, that is huge. And, that's something we're trying to figure out. How do we get that accuracy in our students for those really big problems? Because when I look at that algebra book and I see that one answer takes up an entire page of the teacher key, I think, we've got to master long division because it's not that. But when they get to pre-algebra and algebra, it's huge. There are so many opportunities for error.
Yes. And I think one other facet of the conversation has to also be considering the students' emotional and, just their developmental stage. We talk a lot on the podcast, and I know we tell parents this, just because your 5th grader could read the Scarlet Letter cognitively
might not be
doesn't
wise.
mean that's the book to put in front of them.
That's right.
You know, there is a developmental component to this. It's so important to consider, don't you think?
Yes,
Absolutely.
content can get beyond their maturity level very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
In a classroom, the biggest thing that I found as a teacher is the students that I struggled with most were very smart and had been moved ahead, and their maturity level was a year below everybody else's, and it made for a difficult time for them. It was not a good experience for them, even though they might be still at the top of the class academically, especially boys. Do not mature as quickly.
And Marcy, you were telling me a story, even from your own childhood, about math.
Yes, that's just my strong suit, always has been. And this is something I'd say for parents, if you want to challenge your child. My dad, as we were driving around places, would just give me a number and tell me to square it and subtract 5 and multiply by 4.
Yeah,
mental math just in the car. And it was a great way to challenge me just to take advantage of that time in the car. But I was moved ahead in math. And I took Algebra 1 in 6th grade, and I was in a class with 10th graders. So, you know, there is that social aspect to think about. And in a brick and mortar setting, that's definitely going to be even more of a component than in a homeschool setting. Just to think about what that does for the classmates and the interaction and just the development, like you were saying. So just because you can do it doesn't mean, you know, that you should.
Right. But there definitely are things that you can do to broaden your student. And one of them is those 5-week enrichment courses.
Right.
Something like that would be great. Or like
or
you
learning
said,
a sport.
Yes.
Or playing an instrument. You know, have they done all those things?
Right.
In most cases, not.
Yeah. There's a lot. I get it though. When your student doesn't seem to be challenged, that you feel like you might be wasting time.
And we have a lot of supplemental material for each grade.
Yes. And I'm really looking for more that won't go in the course set, because I know people already have enough to do. But I am looking for, if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Some supplemental sets that would be some resources that would be fun. Okay. Like I think we're going to add that we would just sell separately from the core, or recommend separately from the core. That would be like in 2nd grade when they do Little House in the Big Woods. There's a Little House cookbook that I think we will start to sell, and just some things like that I would like for every grade that would be themed with the grade, like something for Roman history, or I was looking for some kind of like a model of a Roman house or something. I can't find anything that looks doable. That I wouldn't hate to put together as a parent.
Because you will probably end up putting it together.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want anything like that. I want something that would be fun.
Well, even the grade level challenges that you do here at HLS.
Challenges.
That's a great way to challenge an advanced student.
Yes. And for 3rd grade, it is when they're doing states and capitals, it would be for them to memorize in the order that the states joined the Union, the dates in which they joined, and be able to recite all 50 states with their capital and their abbreviation, which they have to do anyway, and then add that date and be able to recite them in order. Now that is a challenge, and we'll see how it goes this year.
And we can list, maybe in the show notes or something, we can list, people ask us by grade, the Herculean challenges. Right. We can list those again. And that hopefully is a resource to someone who gets the question all of us hate to hear. I'm bored. What do I do?
Recite the 50 states in order by the date they became part of the Union.
That's right. But yeah, I guess we kind of answered it, but what do you do when your kid says, I'm bored, and you've run out of their drills, their stories?
Right. My mother just sent me outside. Or would give me, or say, go clean the bathroom.
Take them in my substantial children's library and say, have you read all these?
Yeah.
I learned very quickly not to say I was bored, because it always ended up being something I didn't want to do.
And it usually wasn't boredom that was the problem.
It's not.
I had 4 children, 3 boys, no boredom.
Wonderful. Anything else you think might be helpful to those people? I know you guys get this question all the time.
I think we should talk a little bit about the upper school. So I do think there are things you can do in the upper school. Like you could move math to an accelerated pace. If you've got a student that that wants to take AP Calc, then they do have to move, don't they, at a more
Right. And we do, offer an accelerated track through Memoria Press curriculum.
Right.
And Memoria Academy even is accelerated in that, Algebra 1 would typically be taken in 8th grade if you follow our path.
Yes. That's what I would say is Memoria Academy is a great place to accelerate because you're going to be accelerating that math and science, whatever needs to be accelerated in order to get to AP. You can do that very easily because it's not tied to a classroom or a grade necessarily. It's tied to prerequisites, right?
Prerequisites and an age range, so we still ask you to kind of be within a certain limit just to make the interactions with students.
But you can go up or down.
You can. Most of the classes would work well up or down a grade.
A grade, but not 6th grade to 10th.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Which is helpful because it is true. We do offer a lot of accelerated options. So we're not kind of saying we're not,
But her problem is she's in a hybrid school.
That's right.
And so but that's fine. And that's good for her child to be there. And I've been to that school and it's a great experience. That's a couple days a week. And so she can do other things at home and start adding to the curriculum.
And then as you said, when they get older, we've got AP options. We have a lot of dual enrollment options now too as well. So they can be getting college credit and high school credit simultaneously. And those, you don't have to choose those classes, but if your child is advanced and wanting to go that route, we have those things available at Memoria Academy.
And we're finding, and you're probably going to find this in the academy as well, we're finding with our students that they're able to go into college now because we don't let them out of Latin and they have to do 10 years of Latin. And so they can go to college basically with a minor in Latin almost done. All of those credits would transfer to a minor in the classics even. So all of this rigor that we are working toward does pay off. Even if you don't do dual enrollment, which we don't really offer in the brick and mortar school. I'm glad you all are able to do that.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Marcy, because as they get closer to, especially if a student is college bound, as they get closer to that transition in life, the conversation about accelerating what they do does change a little bit.
It
just
does.
Practically, there's an opportunity for college credit. Okay, that would be great. Let's see, how does that fit with our goals and what you're going to do when you finish high school? So there is a strategy as they get older
Absolutely.
to make that work for the best thing that they're going to do in their next step.
Do you all have counselors that help place students, or do you do it?
We do help them. We also have a college readiness.
We do. We just started a college advising program.
Okay.
So for juniors and seniors, they can sign up for a track and meet with our college counselor who helps them meet deadlines and write college essays and, proofs those things and helps them think through all of those.
I would have loved to have had that.
So this is our first year that we're offering that. But I actually meet with all of our diploma program families. So Memoria Academy offers a diploma program for high school students, rising 9th and 10th graders, where we provide the transcript and the diploma, which is a huge blessing to families for those high school years. And then I meet with them to plan out their track for the high school years to make sure they're meeting our requirements, but that they're also thinking about what colleges or programs are they looking to get into, and are we taking the right courses to set them up for success there?
Yes, and at that point, you can follow their interests a little bit.
Exactly.
This is helpful to Mayor and everyone who calls us asking. We love to take those calls, though, because some situations are really specific. So it's great to have a helping hand on the forum. You can call the press. Happy to help. Well, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Marcy.
Thanks.
For joining the conversation.
I appreciate it.
Glad to have you. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time. Thanks for joining us today on Classical, Etc. by Memoria Press. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, or share this episode or comment. We love to hear your questions and your comments. If you want to learn more about Memoria Press, please go to memoriapress.com. This has been Classical, Etc. We're so glad you joined us, and we'll see you next time.